Hey guys, it's Ann. Welcome to my home worm farming channel, and today we're going to take a look in on the VermiBag Wedge. Now, looking at this, I can't believe how much it has sunk back down again. I also can't believe the darn mice are back. Look at that. There's a little mouse road, so I don't know if they're eating the pumpkin I've been giving the worms or if they're eating the worms. I'm going to take the nuclear option. We're breaking out the traps. All right, so let's have a look-see at the Wedge today and see what it's doing. No harvest, just having a look. I'm still in the building phase of this spin, so we're not yet ready to do some harvesting. So let me put you down and let's have a look over there at the finished end. Okay, it certainly looks as though like the mice, maybe they're getting into this, I don't know, compostable bedding and using that for bedding for their nest or something. I don't know. I'm amazed at how nice and even the moisture is here, though. I was really kind of concerned at the beginning that the Vermi Wedge would dry out too much, and I'm really not finding that to be true. So pleasantly surprised with that. Now, whether that is to do with the conditions in my bin or to do with maybe it's he's using a fabric that is more or less breathable rather. So lots of worms even down at this end, and that's kind of what I mean by it's not ready to harvest yet. It's still in that building phase. So this part here you can still even see bedding, so it's not ready yet. We're still building, and where we stop nobody knows. All right, let me flip you around and let's look at the middle. Okay, so this is the middle here. This was fed a couple times back, and I think the European Nightcrawlers are really liking this larger system. I don't normally get really big worms. Normally they start getting smaller and smaller like this, but I think they're really liking all that real estate that they can go. Look how big these are again. When I got them, they were big, but then over the generations, they tend to kind of shrink. So I'm kind of excited. It looks like I might finally have a system that can keep my worms big and, you know, fishing bait size. That's not nice, is it? Not that I go fishing. I used to a long time ago, but I don't have the patience anymore. But let's see. We've got some in progress food here. Lots of worms. Gonna move that over just a tad bit. Wouldn't expect to find a worm ball because this was fed, you know, more than a month ago. Hopefully those darn mice aren't eating my baby worms. But we're gonna stack this up here to make room for today's feeding. All right, let's look at the business end. Okay. And yeah, I know a lot of people are like, oh man, that's really deep. Yeah, it really is. And it's not even full. So lots of paper bedding here that's still in progress. I've been using a lot more coconut coir simply because I've had a lot of problems with my overwintering peppers that have been dying off. So it's a cyclical environment, my basement. It, you know, whatever lives, eats, and whatever dies gets to be food. All right, let's have a look at the very tippy top. All right, let's see. Do we have a worm ball? Still got a good amount of pumpkin left. Probably won't have to go quite so crazy feeding them this time. Lots of bedding, but look at that. We're getting some good size on these worms. I'm pretty excited because in the past with my systems, it seems like no matter what I do, my worms don't keep their size after you know, 6 months to a year. They start getting smaller. But this might be the trick. This is the number, or this is the method that gets me to have large worms again. And you know, honestly, a whole bunch of small worms eat the same amount of stuff as a few big worms. So in the grand scheme of things, I don't really need them to be big worms. But it's always cool to see a bunch of big worms, isn't it? Am I the only one? Am I a weirdo? Okay, we already know us worm people are weirdos. The question is, am I weird in comparison? Don't answer that. Never mind. Let's get them some food. So although this is not as big of a feeding, as I've given them, it's still a big pumpkin. And a disclaimer, if your worm bin is not this big and you don't have as many worms as I do, and it's not as mature as mine is, do not feed this much. You're asking for trouble. So if this was a brand new bin and I just had new worms, I would feed a handful. And I'd come back every 2 or 3 days and find out, is it still there or isn't it? And if it's still there, you know that was probably too much food if it's there in a week. That's my recommendation to anybody that is new, that in the event that you are trying to figure out how much food should I feed my worms, I am building enough food in here for them to eat for 3 weeks. The worms have lots of real estate over there to go should it heat up a little bit, but my goal is to not feed them any more frequently than every 3 weeks. Let's get them a little bit of coconut coir to go on top of that. Make it, you know, slightly harder for those darn mice to get in here. All right, let's get some bedding. Okay, and this is going to be about 3 gallons of used potting soil. So it's really not just coconut coir. It's got pumice in it and perlite and all of that business. Probably has a little bit of compost in there. So it's not just coconut coir. I'm using whatever's left in the plants. But I am thinking that since that's a smaller feeding than I have been doing, maybe we'll give them a little bit of worm chow. And I'm going to scruff this in just so that it's not that easy for the mice to get at it, at least until I capture the little buggers. And you'll see this is not a fine powder like I often will do with worm chow. This is just ground up stuff that was given to me by Aunt Cece. So that's rice and chickpeas and oatmeal, some nuts maybe. I don't even remember now. At one point there was cocoa beans in there, and so that was nice. Got some chocolate for the worms. So that's all I do. And if you like this system, the VermiBag Wedge, then I have a playlist that you can watch right over there. And if you've already seen that, YouTube thinks this video right over here is what you're looking for. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out with me and my worms, and everybody have a good day.